Alright, so welcome back. Today we're going to be learning how to graph tangent with the phase shift. So a lot of the steps are going to be very similar to what was covered yesterday. The only thing is the graphs are going to be shoved left or right depending on whether it's plus or minus. So it doesn't change very much as it's not as much work as like sine and cosine with phase shifts. The process is very similar to yesterday, just something's been added. Okay, so let's get started. So remember our A is always in front of our trig function. And in this case, y equals tangent of x plus pi over 4. So our A is 1, so our amplitude is 1. And then our period length, remember, for all tangent, tangent waves, our period length we always start off with is pi, right? Now, to get our asymptotes on either side of our tangent wave, we take pi, our period length, we take pi, and we divide it by 2, right? So, and then we put this pi over 2 on either side of what's called a compound inequality, right? And we make one of them negative and one of them positive. Now, just like in the prior video, right, we took our bx, our b value, with our x, and we put it in between the compound inequality. So we're going to do the same thing, only this time now, instead of just bx, it's going to be the number with the x plus or minus whatever phase shift that we got. So we have x plus pi over 4. So I just put that whole thing in the middle of the compounding inequality, and I solve it just like I did yesterday, right? So for this, to solve for x, I've got to subtract pi over 4, subtract pi over 4, subtract pi over 4. So when I do that, negative a half minus pi over 4 is minus 3 pi over 4. Is less than x, which is less than, and half minus a fourth is a fourth. Okay, so these two are my vertical asymptotes, right? So I'll go to my graph, I'll plot negative 3 pi over 4 and pi over 4. Right, and that's going to be my dash line. Okay, now halfway in between negative 3 pi over 4 and pi over 4 is not 0. Yesterday it was always 0, 0. Today, because the whole graph's been shifted to the right, pi over 4 units, my 0 now, my middle of my graph, is actually negative pi over 4. Okay? And that's where it's going to cross the x-axis. So then halfway between negative 3 pi over 4 and negative pi over 4 is negative pi over half, pi over 2, right? And then the 0 between, or the halfway between negative a fourth and a fourth is 0. That's right here. Okay, now at each of these points, right? So in the middle, it crosses the x-axis 3/4 of the way. So at 0, I'm going to go up my amplitude, which is 1. At negative a half, I go down 1. That's here. So there's my 3 points. And then I tend up to the right and tend down to the left because my amplitude is positive. Okay, so that's with the phase shift and moving the graphs left and right. It just kind of depends on whether this is plus or minus. Plus, the graph goes left. Minus, the graph goes right. Okay. Now, in my second example here below, something has changed, and something has changed. It's a little different than what we've had before, right? And what's changed is my amplitude is now negative. So our A is negative 3, and that's going to change our graph, and you'll see how it changes here in a second. Okay, so our period, right, is pi. I'm going to take pi and divide it by 2. Okay, So that will give me my left and right values in the compound inequality. And then I put everything after the word tangent, right, in parentheses. In this case, it's just a 1/4 x. So I have 1/4 x, and I put that in the middle. Now I just solve for x. Now, this 1/4 x can actually be rewritten as x over 4. Sorry about that. My board likes to kind of mess up sometimes. Okay. I mean, you can work it with 1/4 x, and you would just divide by a fourth, which is the same thing as what we'll do here. Okay, so I will multiply both sides times 4. Right, when I do that, I get negative 2 pi is less than x, which is less than 2 pi. Okay, so these two are my asymptotes, right? So I have negative 2 pi, and I have 2 pi. So my graph is really, really wide. So I go, where's my 0? Where's my middle? So if you find the middle, in this case, my middle is 0. Okay, 0, 0, right? I will draw my, oops, I forgot to draw my dash lines. Remember, these are on my vertical asymptotes, so my graph, oh, the one period graph of tangent will never cross these dash lines, and these dash lines will continue on, right? So you have 2 pi, it continues to the right, it'll be another dash line will be at 6 pi, right? And then you find half between that, and you can graph another period length of tangent that way, and you can go to the left, and to the left would be like negative 6 pi, would be another dash line, and you would draw your period length tangent wave that way. Okay, now here's where it's different, right? So we find, well, halfway between 0 and 2 pi is 1 pi, is pi. Halfway between 0 and negative 2 pi is negative pi. Okay, now before this left point we've always gone down, and this right point we've always gone up. But because my amplitude is negative, okay, at this left point, halfway between 0 and 2 pi, right, instead of going down, I'm going to go up. So I'm going to go up my amplitude, okay, and then at this pi value, okay, I will, instead of going up, I will go down. Okay, and I will go down my amplitude. So then my wave, if you connect, will tend, look something like that. And it's really, really wide, and I kind of ran out of space. Okay, let me redraw this. That's kind of bad. So 3. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so when your amplitude is negative, that's what your graph flips, and it rises to the left and falls to the right. Normally a tangent wave falls to the left and rises to the right. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, please either email me or leave a comment. Thanks.